Let's begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, you've got the agenda in front of you. Are there any additions or changes that need to be made to the agenda? There aren't any. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, motion made, second to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion or questions? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. Is there anyone that wishes to address the council? Evidently not. Moving on. Okay, consent agenda. We have 4.1, approval of minutes for the March 28th regular council meeting. 4.2, approval of minutes for the January 5th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. 4.3, approval of minutes for the February 8th Commission for a lifetime meeting. 4.4, approval of claims. 4.5, approval of check summary for the month of March. 4.6, approval of building permit report for the month ending March 2016. 4.7, approval of fire department report for the month ending March 2016. And 4.8, approval of resolution 4/11/16/17, the appointing of Barney Johnson to the planning commission. Any of those things need to be pulled up for further discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and second to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, moving on. 5, city administrator. And it looks like 5.1, right, Luann?
Correct.
Action on tax forfeited property at 113 Fifth Street Northwest.
Correct. Mr. Mayor, council members, the city has received notice from Carver County on the tax forfeited property at 113 Fifth Street Northwest in the city. The city has 60 days to respond to the county. The city has 3 options on this parcel of land. The city can withhold the property for public purposes, and if the city's intention is to request transfer of the property, the city council must pass a resolution from Minnesota Statute 282.01 and identify the public purpose for the parcel. If the city does not withhold the land, the county will proceed to a sale. The city also can purchase the property, and then a public purpose does not need to be identified. The city would need to purchase the property for the $3,000 that the county has established as the market price. If the city chooses not to withhold the property for public purpose or purchase the property, then the city must approve the parcel for public auction. So if the city approves the sale of the property, any prior assessments can be reassessed to the property. And this property does have an outstanding street and utility assessment of $16,471.52. Staff will need to recertify the assessment in November. Council will need to discuss whether the assessment should be recertified, and as the letter from Kathleen Smith, she points out in her letter to take into consideration whether the assessment may make the parcel unaffordable. The other expense that the city has with this property is the cleanup. The city applied for a deed grant of which there was a 25% match. The total of the city's contribution, or 25%, was $6,783.04. The other cleanup expense was the emergency cleanup from the oil spill on April 20th, 2013, where the city was ordered by MPCA to conduct a cleanup and pumping of the tank. That cost to the city was $7,577.02. The city did apply for PETRA funds, but the application was denied. Staff was told by MPCA staff that the legislation would be changing in 2014. The city could reapply for funds in 2015. Staff was informed that the legislation did not change in 2014. Staff has contacted MPCA whether the legislation changed in 2015 and the city could reapply for grant funds, and the legislation did not change in 2015. However, there is a piece of legislation for 2016. The legislation will only cover the portion of the $7,577.02 that insurance does not pay. And the amount that the insurance will pay, I've been in touch with the league because I had filed a claim on this back in 2013, and we've just left it out there waiting for either the legislation to change or something to happen. It's only 10% that they pay, and I know that Mike called me back today, and I wasn't able to get back to him. The Petro Fund picks up 90%. So that $7,000, if the legislation changes, we should be made whole on that emergency cleanup. But I don't know, because the legislature is still in session. Like I said, I've submitted a claim to the League for the Insurance Trust for the $7,000, and I'll monitor the legislation, and if approved, we'll submit the balance to the MPCA for payment. MPCA is now telling me that they won't even consider the application until the insurance has, until we've filed a claim and gotten a payment on insurance, and the insurance trust guy is telling me that that's not how it works. When he's worked on these Petro funds before, whatever Petro fund doesn't pick up, then they pick up. So there's some little bit of sorting out to do or figuring yet on how we're gonna get, reimbursed for that. So staff's requesting council discussion and a decision on the parcel and the assessment for the street repairs. Council has three possible actions. Again, you can purchase the property, decide on the public purpose for the property, have it withheld, and if council does not wanna do one or two, you still need to approve this sale, because there's the form, if you saw, everyone needs to sign off on that form that you're okay with the $3,000. So as I talked to Dave Hubert about this, and since we have the $16,000 street assessment, he thinks that if we stayed with the street assessment, he's not sure on the $14,000 on the cleanup that we could reassess for that, but the city may wanna reassess the 16 for the street assessment if that's what you wanna do. And not try to go after the 14. We're not gonna, both. I don't think we're gonna be able to do both, but we should be able to do one or the other. And so the 16 would make us almost whole if we don't get any Petro fund money on the cleanup that we had. This bond was called and paid already, so, the street assessment, the money that we borrowed for that street assessment is, the debt's already been taken care of on that one.
Okay.
So, it was a 20-year bond.
Now, just to clarify for my purpose, this is the creamery?
Yes, it is. That's correct. Yep. And we did withhold it for public purpose once before, and we took the street right of way, if you recall. And the park board looked at it, tried to make a decision on what they wanted to do with it, and we just really couldn't come up with a public purpose that or the park board didn't. And the EDA weighed in on it too.
Probably got heavier involved than the park board.
Yeah. And so I guess, again, the city council will have to decide what you wanna do with the property.
Well, the biggest thing was the cleanup, and
Right.
you don't know how much there is and how much that's gonna cost us. And so I think that was the ultimate reason why no one ever ended up, none of the boards ever ended up really wanting to do anything with it, other than, we talked about just making it parking. But I don't know how much cleanup there would be. It was the tear down of the building.
It was a tear down of the building, and the asbestos inside the
And not
building.
knowing
All the
what lies in there.
cleanup outside with the land has been done.
Okay.
And the tank, which was kind of ironic, if you remember this from the spill, is we had a limited site investigation done, we had had a phase 1 done, and we had a phase 2 completed also, in 2 different engineering firms, and they didn't even find this tank. So then this tank got found because the plug got destroyed off the standpipe, water got into it, and the oil bubbled out. So, as far as that tank has gone out, so then we requested that MPCA clean up that tank, and MPCA did clean up the tank because we could do that. But the $7,500 is what we had to respond to when the MPCA person came out here and saw the spill and what we had to clean up in order to, be in compliance with them, because it had gotten all the way to the Crow River.
They didn't pull the tank out though, did they? It's
No, I think
there.
they decommissioned it on site. They cut the top off, they pumped it out, cut the top off, and then they fill it with sand, I think is what they do.
Did you include, the money that we spent on all the, I wanna say the engineering, we had those people come out, that was included in there?
Yeah, because that was part of that deed grant.
Right, okay.
Okay, and that was like $30-some thousand, I believe. So, and 25% of it is what we had to pay.
Right.
It was like 28. If you look on the sheet that I provided to you, the final sheet, this one, shows what the engineering, what the total was.
On which side is it?
So it was like,
Yeah, it's in.
$27,132 was the total, and we ended up paying $6,783 of that.
I thought we just wanna divest ourselves of this property, didn't we?
Well, then if that's what you wanna do, you just need to make a motion that you're okay with the sale, and then you'll need to sign the form that Lois has all of you, if that's what you wanna do.
decided, just to give it back?
And
There's
then,
just so many unknowns there.
yep, and then on the street assessment too, I would like you to give us some direction on if you wanna reassess that $16,000, because we can. When it first went on, I reserved the right for us to be able to do that, was one thing that we had to do.
So if we divest ourselves of this, what becomes our property? Is it
Goes up for auction and
go up for auction and hopefully somebody will buy it and?
for $3,000,
Plus the assessment,
plus the assessment if you assess it.
and that's 16,000?
So what happens when it doesn't sell? It just sits there?
It
The way it is?
becomes an eyesore.
It's the
Yeah.
county's property, yep.
But the 16,000 can be put onto their taxes and assessed, right? It doesn't have
Right.
to be paid.
And they could come back and negotiate that with you. It certainly could be negotiable. I mean, they could come back and say, would you be willing to, take half of the street assessment? Or we can buy this property, but we can't make it work, but we can pay you only this much of the street assessment. And they can come back and ask you that. And you can make that decision if that's what you choose to do.
But it doesn't have to be paid with the purchase. It can be assessed,
Right.
reassessed.
Yes, and it can be assumed. Assessments can be assumed.
Yeah, I don't wanna lose that I mean, we already stuck money into it and lost all that, so.
Well, the other thing is I think about, when I thought about it, is $3,000 isn't very much money, and we just got it cleaned up. So somebody buys it for $3,000 and it becomes a parking lot again of all kinds of stuff, or whatever again, I don't know,
And
'Cause
they
these
would
are-
have, I mean, they'd have all of our
They have the
studies
right, yeah. I mean, we
that have
had,
already been done.
right. But if you remember that struggle and trying to get it cleaned up, how much of a struggle that was.
Yeah, that's why I don't wanna really necessarily lose the assessments as well on top of it.
Well, some of the conversation that was had with this is we got right away for the street.
Mhm.
What was ever done with the well that was on that site?
Well, the well
County's will.
was supposed to be an easement, but now the county doesn't know how to do it, so what will happen is once it's sold, they're gonna have to seal the well. So, that's
The
fine.
city won't have any access to that.
No, we don't now. The DNR uses it for an
Yeah.
observation well. So evidently, Joe Enfield's been in conversations with the DNR about it, and they were gonna hold a little inter-office meeting, and then I was gonna go after they held that and talk to them about what do we wanna do. But Dave had been working on that, easement with them, and if it gets sealed, then we don't
We don't
Care.
care as long as it does get
see,
sealed,
right,
because that'd be a huge source of contamination
Right.
for our
Mhm.
other wells in the
Right.
community.
right.
So, okay. Yeah, I'm okay with letting this go up for auction and staying with the assessment.
Just staying with keeping the assessment on it.
The street assessment, yeah. I think we've put a lot of time and thought into this, and there's just no end to the money that it's gonna require to get it cleaned up,
Well, we're gonna get some of it back if you do the street assessment. You'll get
Yeah.
some of it.
yeah.
And hopefully the Petra fund comes through and we get that money too.
No, I mean ongoing
Oh, yeah.
cost.
So there's actually no idea what the actual cleanup cost would be, there's no,
Well, it's all cleaned up outside. The only
but
thing is
on the ground, underneath it though.
well, that should be okay, I would think, but there might be there probably is asbestos around the pipes in there, and maybe in the flooring. I mean,
It's a concrete structure too,
It's
so
a- it's gonna
cost
be-
us
a
ton
ton
to
of,
get
To
rid of
demo
it.
the
Right.
building.
Yeah.
I mean, the EDA even, we went to sending it to the microbreweries, 'cause it would be a perfect microbrewery for someone.
That's what I was thinking too, yeah.
Mhm. And we didn't get any response from the microbrewery association, but
Keep
Don't look at
trying.
me.
Keep trying.
You into
Don't
that
look at
business,
me.
Gary?
No, not,
but maybe for $3,000,
Not yet.
somebody will come and do a
Not yet, yeah.
microbrewery.
Gosh, yeah.
That's true, I guess.
Possibilities
If
are
somebody get
endless.
it cheap enough, it's unique,
wouldn't
I mean,
touch
the
it.
building's unique enough that it'd be good for something like that, yes. Okay, so is there a motion then to, as I hear it, to let it go up for auction but we'll keep the assessment on it to recover that amount?
That motion?
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second then to have this go up for auction and keep the street, utility assessment on it as stated. Any further discussion or questions?
Just that everyone needs to sign the form. All of you will have to sign it, and Lois has it, so just after the meeting, if you would do
Okay.
that, please.
If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. 5.2, approval of ordinance 207 through tree and landscaping requirements for C1 general commerce, C2 central business, CI commercial industrial, and PI public institutional districts.
So, Mr. Mayor, council members, and, Councilmember Voder would have been at this planning commission also meeting. So, this was the, landscaping requirements that you sent back to the planning commission for them to examine. And I don't think they changed anything on it. I think they withdrew the overstory trees and they withdrew the foundation plantings from the ordinance. And I think the foundation plantings were what some of the discussion was that was here. So this ordinance does not have any foundation plantings on it at all, and I guess that's, I'm not gonna read the whole thing to you, but, so if you're okay with that, or if you wanna change it and include the foundation plantings, we can do that too.
Well, we sent it back to them with our concerns, and that's what they came up with.
Yep.
I think we should not require the foundation planting either. It's an industrial area, I think it's gonna, it's too much work for people with snow removal and everything else, and they're trying to.
Yeah, I can understand some of that if you're putting a business in, you don't wanna be monkeying with, that. And a lot of them will do it on their own anyhow, just to pretty it up a little bit by themselves, without being told they have to. And I think we're gonna be fine the way it is. So.
Did they change anything at all from what, no, they kept it the way they originally had it.
Yeah. Okay, so is there a motion to approve this, ordinance?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? I will second it. Any further discussion or questions?
So what are we doing?
I guess I'd like to seen the foundations stay in there. The businesses are there, some of them have them. We required them to have them, I know some of them didn't do it. It just seems like you go back and forth and you require it in one, and you don't require it on the next one, so.
Well, and the way it was written now is there might be nothing up there.
Exactly. So I guess that's why I sent it back, thinking that, we've required about half the development to do something.
You were at the meeting, right?
The first one, not the second one.
Derek said that
Oh, you were there?
That was kinda the hang up too, again, was half of us kinda thought it should be, you should have them, and half, the other half didn't want it, so. I think it's,
They felt, I was there as an audience, and they were more that the area, that not every business would be conducive to have these plantings in the front, and that, most of the time, the places would put plantings to make it look nicer to whatever their specifications were. That's what they were saying, I'm not speaking for myself, I'm just
So they
reiterating
did
what the
not
conversations they had.
they did not consider like even kinda just reducing what we had in there, or going half and half, and
it was still kinda, just, it was really half the people thought they should be there and the other half didn't, and just kinda the way it played out, the concerns with parking in some of the areas, limited parking and just wanting that extra space, and then snow removal and trying to get stuff in and out of their properties.
And then the upkeep,
And the upkeep.
cause
on
they
it
were
as well.
afraid that the people would put them in and then they wouldn't maintain them.
Yeah, I guess I'd look at it, we've got Casey's potentially located at our lot there. I stopped at Quick Trade yesterday in Norwood, and they've got one little patch of grass in one corner of the building for the entire length of the building. That's all they got, and that's, so, and honestly, I think Casey's wants to have foundation planting in front of them. They wanna have parking there to get, for customers to park close to the building, so.
I can understand certain businesses, I mean, obviously, they don't work in front of the lumberyard. But 90% of this, out there was built and set up and designed for foundation plantings. Some businesses are a little different than others, not real conducive, like the storage where they have doors all the way around it almost. That's why we have variances from it a little bit, but
then
I guess-
everybody's coming up. My only problem with that is that cause I kinda agree with you, I wanna see something up there, but I don't wanna have everybody come up for a variance either, and, because they will. Cause you can get a variance to the ordinance, and then, of course, in Casey's case, it makes sense not to have all the stuff in the way, and people need to get in and out of there. but in some other businesses, they should have them and they can have them. And I don't want everyone, you know, then we have to play housekeeper to that too.
Well, and I guess that was the biggest problem with this, is some business came to us and said that, geez, you require a lot, you know, so it's another,
That's why I thought they'd kinda do some
So-
kind of a compromise, like,
So they talked about what each, you know, different cities, if you looked on, I don't know what page it is, but it was, you know, like Waconia doesn't, they couldn't, there was no foundation plantings, Norwood didn't have it. Cologne was 1 per every 10 feet of building and parking area. Victoria was a little bit different, they were 2%, just 2% of their property had to have some sort of landscaping,
sure,
which I
That's kinda
thought was a
what
little
for.
bit better
For something.
solution. Yeah.
Well, we can do whatever, but I don't like going against what a board has, thought through either, so we've had that going on too, so.
Okay, well, we've got the motion and a second and discussion, call the motion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
nah,
Motion carried. Okay, moving on, that's it, right? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn? Or, excuse me, I'm sorry, are there any council reports? Let's not jump ahead here. Any council reports?
I would've gone to a community ed, but, 'cause I wasn't here the last meeting. And so, it was, I was there for about half the meeting, but then I had somewhere else to go. So, I mean, it was good, they're still talking about, trying to get mayor more involved with different things, and adding, or it was a while ago, so now I'm kinda blanking on everything we talked about, but it was just going over a lot of the different things and different opportunities, possibly, they have a after-school program in Watertown that actually has wait lists. And the talk was, would there be a need in Mayor, and do a satellite, solution somewhere?
Okay.
You know, that was, you know, conversations like that, talking about future and just getting more of Mayor included. And it's working, it's just taking time and also finding people to do activities over here. But I looked at the summer brochure and there's a lot more options here in Mayor
Okay,
for
good.
different things. How's that?
Anything else?
Just remember the joint meeting tomorrow night with the park board at 6:30? Just remind everyone of that.
Seven.
I was just gonna say, I unfortunately missed the last parking board meeting, but there is a joint one tomorrow night, so.
Yep. Yeah, that's tomorrow night, and the work session immediately following this council meeting. Any other council reports, anything else? Okay, if not, then is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed, motion carried. Okay, then we will convene the work session.
Stay for it if you make it quick.
Pardon?
Stay for it if you make it quick.
I'll let you make it quick. Okay, Luann, do you want to?
This was one of the requests that Councilmember McNeely and Councilmember Border had requested, that we have Watertown Mayor, come to one of our, city council meetings. So tonight in the audience is the Watertown Mayor Superintendent Ron Wilkie, and he's brought some members from the school board, I believe, and I will let you go ahead and introduce him, Ron.
Thanks, Luann. I recognize most of you, and some of you I've met along the way, but, I'll reintroduce myself again. I'm Ron Wilkie, maybe no longer the new guy, Superintendent of Schools for Watertown Mayor Schools. I have, three board members with me this evening: Jeff Jackson, Cassie Bowe, Julie Sweeney, and then also with us, Nikki mentioned Community Ed, our Community Ed Director, Rachel Bennett. And Luann and I have met a couple of times since I've been in the school district, and just to share updates on life in the school district, and to get, for me to get a sense of the lay of the land in Mayor, and what you folks have going on, in the city of Mayor as well, and work underway with the council. As we've talked, we've certainly begun to value the possibility of expanding and growing the park
they all got one in their packets, but I think we've got a couple maybe they could get, yep.
Thank you.
Do you want another one?
I got it right here.
Pass those around, but, I'll just speak briefly, take a few minutes to give you an overview of what we have here, and then represented in the document in front of you. And then from there, I guess I would just open it up, of course, less formal
might be-
discussions between, the school board members and, Ray Thornton, the ed director, and you folks too. Does that sound okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Well, and I know, Luann, you, I've been on your site, the city site, you've got a comp plan that, you've had in place for what does that go back to,
2008, and we're updating it this year. The planning commission has started the updating of the comprehensive plan at the last planning commission meeting. They started this chapters 1 and 2 and hope to have it done within a year, so.
Great. And the work that will develop underneath this, what we refer to as a strategic roadmap, would constitute some of the same type of work that you would use a comprehensive plan to guide the work of the city. And we've been working on developing this and actually building off of work that's preceded me in the school district, with developing a mission statement and some, guiding values for the school district, but,
Luann, you have another for me?
I've got a few extras here too.
I was just in the packet that I saw, so,
Yeah, you're not in the right packet.
not the right packet?
That's
That's
from
the
planning
download in the
process.
email.
Oh, here, I'm sorry.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, that's gonna help.
We had it up before.
Yep,
Now
there you go.
no,
There we go.
no.
Oh, gosh,
There we
it's
go.
all electronic here too.
Sorry about that.
Trying.
But anyhow, this work began, long before, probably November, October, in engaging, staff across the district, school board, administration, taking stock of where we were and where we're going with what we wanna be as a school district. And the end product from this, you see in front of you with our mission statement, which is, pretty straightforward and simple: growth through connections and opportunities. Growth for all learners in the district. One of our primary missions are our students and programs in pre-K through 12, but students extend and learners extend well out into the community, learners of all ages. We spent time thinking about what do we feel we are really strong with, and areas that we're areas of strength, things that we're really good at, and that, led to that core competency that we believe that a strength of the district is creating environments where each student feels connected and can experience success. And then the values piece that, we would like all of us to take into account as we're working and seeking to meet the needs of our communities and our students. We wanna be guided by the values that, you see before you there, the value of integrity, intentionality, collaborative, inclusivity and creativity, and really being very authentic with all that we do with all of that. The, Vision 2019 statement, that essentially is saying what we would hope to accomplish from the work that will, be ongoing within this strategic roadmap. One of the key pieces with that is that first bullet: all means all, no exceptions. We're here for all students, we're here for, all of our stakeholders in both of our communities throughout the boundaries of the school district. Now, where the rubber really hits the road with all of this is with the strategic directions. And it's underneath these strategic directions, that school district staff will develop plans for continual growth and improvement. These are our broad goals, if you will, for the district. And the first one is to create a culture and environment where all feel welcome and supported. The behavioral expectations in the classroom, in the classroom, the environments that we set up in our schools are one small example of that. The second, direction is to deliver curriculum that is consistent and rigorous for all. So when students are moving through our school systems, throughout their years in the school system, they're gonna receive high quality instruction, no matter instruction, the third area, is to provide instruction that reflects best practices and focuses on the needs of the individual student. So you've got, you have the curriculum, but then the techniques, the practices that teachers are using, are covered under that, instructional area. The technology is a big piece, of, what we do in integrating technology in ways that will best meet the needs of our learners. And then, the last two, engage in marketing and communication that enhances and promotes the image of the district, and we'll come back to that in a second. And then the last one, F, effectively manage resources to support district facilities and financial sustainability. Sustainability, fiscal responsibility, those are big ideas that really cut across everything that we will be doing and asking questions of ourselves as we're considering something new or change. Is it going to be sustainable? Can we afford this into the future? It's something that really crosses over into just about every area of school district operation. So taking it back to E, engage in marketing and communication. That's as Luann and I were talking, I was thinking that's probably a good jumping off point for some discussion and actually to pick up on some of what Nikki was talking about with between the school district and mayor, and as well as with the city of Watertown too, the areas for partnering and engaging our communities. But one of the big areas that we've been looking at between the school district and mayor is how can we increase our presence in mayor? And quite frankly, I'm the new guy, but I've from listening to people, you know, I have this sense that some folks might think that sometimes mayor is forgotten. I want you to know that's absolutely not the case with me, but how can we be more purposeful to expand and build on our relationship and our presence in the city of Mayor in this direction. So, having said that, I guess I turn it over to board members, Rachel, and all of you for some discussion around that topic.
Yeah. I've always just voiced my concern that I feel, I mean, we have great private schools in the city of Mayor, but not everybody can afford to do that and or would like to stay in a public setting. And a lot of, my friends that have children that live in Mayor, they all go to Waconia. And it's really hard 'cause, you know, my daughter, we live in Mayor, but a lot of her school friends are in Watertown. And yeah, it's not that far, but sometimes those 3 miles can seem like a long distance, especially when you have elementary school age children. You know, so, you know, just making sure, like, I just wanna make sure that Mayor, you know, it's part of the school's name, but, you know, everything's held in Watertown. You know, a lot of things I think are really focused there, and how can we get some of that happens in the city to also happen here? I mean, I don't know what that looks like, I just think it's just conversations that should start to be had, so that maybe those students that are deciding when they're moving to Mayor, where they have lots of options, that maybe they do choose Watertown Mayor. I really enjoy the school, I think that it's a great place to go to school, but, you know, same with, you know, if you have options here, and so how do you get them to which school to pick? But Watertown doesn't always show up in the community boards either that I see on Facebook when people say, I'm moving to Mayor, where should I go to school? I mean, it's Waconia, you know, and there's not a lot of conversations about Watertown. Now, I never thought about her going to a different school, and Waconia's starting to have bus service in Mayor, so, you know, it's becoming more of a convenience. And I have nothing against Waconia at all. I just think that the taxpayers are paying for the Watertown Mayor School District, that, you know, I think it's important that we have their, you know, understanding of what's going on with the school district.
Now, there's a disconnect there between mayor and the city, I think a lot of people perceive. And I don't know how or what that looks like to bring us back into that fold, or feel part of that fold, being that all the facilities are in Watertown, obviously, so I mean, that's kind of a, I don't know how you get around that. Somehow bring more after-school programs here, or, other community type events, but, you know, I'm not sure what that looks like and how we get there, but there is definitely a disconnect. One of the other things I'm in my second term here, and one of the things I hear about fairly often is busing, and why does it take an hour and 30 minutes for the kids to get back to the city of Mayor? Is there anything that we can look at with that busing schedule to change that? I know two families that are looking at Waconia just for the fact of just the bus rides are so long. I don't know what the bus rides are from Waconia, but, I don't know, I mean, it's one of the things I have heard about the school is the bus ride. And I'm one of those people, both my kids go to, Watertown Mayor, and I try to pick them up as much as possible, 'cause that bus ride is horrendous.
Eric, have they been on the bus for an hour and a half?
Well, they get done at what, 2:50, the last bell rings, my kids get home about, you know, sometimes it's even closer to that, you know, that 4 o'clock range, 3:45 to 4 o'clock. I mean, it's just,
I will say this in perspective with the busing, because there's, the Waconia bus stop is the same corner that mine does. And I'm also a substitute teacher up there, so I know kind of what happens. That bus comes 15 minutes before mine comes, it comes at 3:15. However, their school day ends at the same time, but those buses are leaving the building our kids are leaving the building at 2:50. Their buses are leaving their building at 2:45, so it seems like their bus ride is shorter,
Mhm.
but it's not.
It's just still, why is it that it's bus 20, why is it that bus is the last bus to leave, you know, the elementary school, for sure, the elementary school?
Sure, and I mean, we're getting down to some levels of detail that it's
Uh-huh.
really not a problem, so.
It's really just from their buses instead of, my daughter's on 4, she's on bus 4. So there's 3 different buses coming to Mayor, but they're dropping off in Watertown first.
You know, maybe it's something that just can't be fixed, but, I mean, it's, you know, within our neighborhood, I've heard it from probably at least 4 or 5 families, that's one of their concerns is bus rides.
Yeah, I think Caitlin gets on the bus at 7:20, and I don't think she gets to school until about 8:05, the elementary school.
I think there's other aspects of those buses' schedules as well.
Oh, right.
They're picking up at Zion, they're picking up and
Oh,
dropping
right,
off
and
at
a
Lutheran
Ford
High.
does Zion.
So you can't just say, get all the Mayor kids on 1 or 2 buses and bring them over. It just does not work that way. And who does the scheduling? Doesn't the bus company sit down and, yeah, it's not like it's a school board can say, you know, you guys need to get all the Mayor kids on.
Well, they work for us and we can, you know, but
Sure.
it's something to look at.
And as Mayor grows, there's more children using the bus. Sure, maybe it needs to be looked at, but
Well, that's a concern that's out there in the community, so
it's just not that
unfortunately, like,
simple, yeah.
not everybody in the community understands the logistics of the
Sure.
bus routes.
Mhm.
So, I think these bus routes have been in place for a long time. Maybe it's just a combination now that you have a different bus service running Watertown Mayor. It might be a little audit that's done to see if there's changes. I mean, my daughter never complains now about the bus ride, but when she was in kindergarten, she used to cry because the bus ride was so long for her. I mean, but that's a kindergartner. So I gave her things to do on the bus.
Well, it's something to absolutely research. We use the same bus company that Waconia does.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that could be situational from 1 year to the next too, but generally speaking, what we do is minimize that distance and time on buses. When we're talking about marketing the school district and our communities, I think realtors come into play in this as well, and the realtor projecting homes and that type of thing too. But the more we can do to get the school district the good word out and the great things happening in the school district, those I think the better.
Cause do we have anything about the different schools in the welcome packet that are options? And I don't wanna leave out, our other great schools that are, you know, we have a high school and we've got a K through 8. I mean, I like that mayor has options. I mean, that's a good draw for the city. But as a taxpayer, if you know that you're gonna do public schooling, I would hope that Watertown mayor would be like one of your first options to review, and that people would say positive things about. And I think we're going in the right direction, it's just, you know, it's saddens me to have a lot of my friends that we hang out with choosing other districts. But they also have parents that work that direction, 'cause a lot of kids get dropped off. Mhm. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people work like Eden Prairie or take a bus from Chaska, or, you know, downtown or something. Driving to Watertown, that would add, you know, a lot of time. I just happen to drive that way and I can do the bus schedule, but, I mean, that would be a good solution that could allow parents that are doing that commuting, that if there was a bus from this, you know, like how they do right now, they bus from the primary school to the elementary school and back and forth. I mean, there's a lot of positives I have to say about busing, like, my daughter does gymnastics, and she just takes the bus from the elementary school to the high school, and I don't have to worry about getting her there by 3:20, 'cause I work downtown. So, I mean, I think that's a great solution to start looking into, and I don't know what even that looks like, if that would even be accomplished, you know, but.
Well, we've just begun to have some conversations around that, and there may be some further.
You wanna buy the creamery bowl?
Out
So cheap as $3,000.
That's right.
We need to be looking at a space to find out a location on it.
There you go.
I already know what
Right.
Well, I think one of the problem that we have, is the same problem that you guys have, is this is a bedroom community, period. I mean, there's no, like, love, investment in the city of Mare, you know, and that translates into no investment into the pride of being in the community. I truly believe, and I just turning it back to the city a little bit here, is what are we known for in this city?
When I first started here and I told when I first started here and told people that I worked here, the Lutheran High School is what they knew about.
Mhm.
That's what people know about. Right.
In the area,
No, not outside the area. I'm talking about people outside of,
that people that actually have heard of it.
and they heard of Mayor because of the Lutheran High
Absolutely, right.
School.
Yeah, I mean,
So if
one
the-
out of 10 people have probably heard of Mare to begin with in the whole metro area.
Well, but I was surprised, and this was southern Minnesota, this wasn't here. So I don't know if there's a way that the school district then could maybe partner with Mayor Lutheran High. Maybe there's a way that can become the drop-off, the after-school, beginning school program. There's a partnership, maybe there's a public-private partnership that could be accomplished. I mean, I think about that, the other thing I think about is they have room for like theater. Why couldn't your theater program, when you have it one time, come here and do a theater program at the Lutheran High School? Do their play one night in Mayor. I mean, or a band concert. I mean, I would think that they would, Joel would be welcome. He would be, he would
In the
have-
interest of full disclosure, I teach part-time at Mare Lutheran, so, but I agree with Luann. I've long said too, there should be some partnership, and I think there probably could be some things that worked out too.
Joel and
work together.
it's been a while now, but when when I first started, we put time together, and absolutely, this is not a competition. This is
No.
about, providing options for our students. You know, we've got the open enrollment thing going on, absolutely, do we want to keep as many of our district resident students in our district as we can? Yeah.
Well, I dated a guy from Mayor Lutheran, and he wrestled for Waconia, because Mayor Lutheran didn't have wrestling. So, I mean, there was that
We used to have the
partnership too, you know, with sporting
Oh, was it?
things. And you probably have things like that, but I
I
mean,
wonder when that was.
it's just.
But maybe that's
Yeah.
another option, is to sit down with Joel and just see what you could do with him,
And haven't had any conversations with him around the,
use of the
The-
facilities.
the early childhood,
Right.
the kids co-piece, but there, there could be some opportunities to engage, and we do, we employ high school students with our kids co in, kids company program in Watertown, but, that could be pulled into some learning experiences in the classroom too.
I do know there was a survey, probably like 4 years ago, for preschool in Mayor. I don't think there was a big response. So, I mean, I like surveys, I just feel, I mean, we've done a survey for the park board, it's just really hard, how do you get that survey to the right people, to getting a good pool of, is there a need?
Well, that's where maybe some of the partnership and
Yeah.
developing a stronger connection with us, for the cities and the city council to, kind of, hey, this is coming, this survey's coming, please, give it your attention.
Well, we're gonna be doing a survey as part of our comprehensive plan, so if there were, I don't know how many questions we can have on that survey, but maybe if that's an opportunity too, 'cause we're gonna do it online.
Well, and that's taking it back up to what I would call 50,000 feet in terms of some other areas for collaboration, where, with the work that you folks have underway and the work that the school district has underway, there may be some areas, some common ground that we could support each other. There's an example of a piece that could, point to that as well. One of the things in my previous district, from time to time, it took various, forms, but we had what we called the Common Council, where we had representatives, I came from La Crescent Holka School District, so it's, felt a fairly strong connection or similarity in that, with La Crescent and Holka, Watertown, Mayor. And, similar dynamic in distance separating the two communities. But we would have representatives from each of the, city councils, school boards, and township boards, where, quarterly, we just get together and have these types of discussions, updates that work underway, and then look for areas of partnering. If that would be something that you would be interested in, I certainly would be very interested.
I think, we did that a number of years ago. City administrator from Watertown and Luann and myself and, Superintendent Anderson, is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah, got together on a monthly basis and just chatted over coffee and stuff in the morning, and that, I think, I'm not sure they.
I'd include Joel in that too.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
yep, and then we ended up including the town cop after a while, or
Yep.
the school liaison
Yeah.
officer from Watertown, so the group kinda grew a little bit.
It was a good way to keep information going back and forth. I mean, there weren't any earth-shaking decisions that came out of that, but it was just nice to know what was going on in the various, areas. It was just nice communicating.
Where there was a lot of growth going on, it was nice for the school district to
Yeah.
know, what was coming, how many, lots are we platting this week,
Right. And that's another example, Lois, we're pulling, we started to take an initial look at a geographic demographic report that I just pulled, that has a limited shelf life, it goes up through 2020, but again, I know you'll be looking at similar data with your comp planning, and that's something where we don't need to reinvent the wheel, that we have to go through
Collaborate.
pulling all that data, and if you already have it, and you may have some expertise that we don't in interpreting that, and working with that, or we might from the school district side as well, so again, that is something I absolutely would like to pursue, and I certainly, maybe Luann,
Mhm.
through Luann and Schaefer and Watertown, to pull that off.
I would be interested to hear what some of those numbers are. I think when you look at the amount of school-aged children in the city of Mare, the percentage that probably go to Watertown is probably gonna be pretty small. From a school district standpoint, I would say that your open enrollment, the people that you get from Winstead and Lester and everywhere else I know is big. So that's helping you out too, just from a district standpoint. But, as far as mayor goes and the percentage that does go to Waconia, I highly doubt it's because of quality. I really do.
Yeah, I agree too, I mean,
I
we're,
think it is
we're happy
exactly
with
what
the
we talked about. Their
instruction
parents
and teachers and-
drive that way, and that's what's easy for them to get to.
Absolutely,
So.
Talking with the superintendent in Waconia, he would probably tell you that they experience the same thing on the east side of their school district.
Sure.
With Eastern Carver.
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah.
They're going to Chaska and yep, Chanhassen, yep.
But are there needs that there could be some win-wins that could capture a few more students within our district, you know, like
And then
like
also,
ground care.
as far as, I like the care and the collaborating. As far as athletics goes, Watertown already does collaborate with
Oh, I didn't know, I
Marion
was
Lutheran High, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The sports that Lutheran High does not have, and they have got some phenomenal athletes. Watertown is more than happy to take them in their
Well-
wrestling program, their swimming program, they've had.
No, and I know they do it, I just was,
And
So,
the boys soccer
I'm
team
not-
this last year, next year is gonna be absolutely great, so.
which one? The
Boys soccer.
Are you one of the coaches, Terry?
No, my grandson's on the team.
Did they go to Watertown now?
Watertown co-ops with, Watertown co-ops with Lutheran High. Yep,
yep, I saw,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So they're making really good use of each other's resources, I think they do.
As a mayor resident, I've lived here for, it'll be 9 years this summer. And I feel like when I moved here, it was a little bit tighter of a community. You'd go to, Zion would have their big Halloween or their Easter thing, it was a huge turnout. And I've noticed over the years that has kind of dwindled, and I don't know why, when it was, what happened in the last 8 years that.
The same 5 people run it and they got tired.
That's
exactly what happened.
But it's like, when I was talking about those events, it just felt more, even in within my neighborhood, we felt more neighborly. And now on my street, I live on Rocky Meadow, the farthest
okay.
end. I think there are 7 different schools that kids go to on that street, it's like 9 houses.
And you have to wear, earplugs in the
so-
morning, there's like 17 buses going.
Sure.
And some, I mean, they're everything from the Chinese immersion school to, I mean, it's everywhere, to St. Louis Park, you know, I mean, these are schools on my street, which is fine, except it creates such a disconnect
Sure.
on the street
Mhm.
from either, and these are kids all the same age,
Mhm.
but they don't see each other at school, and they don't, you know, and so they don't really even engage that
So,
much.
what can we do
So, what
with
can we do
us
as a
Mhm.
community?
and absolutely Mayor Lutheran to that?
I was gonna mention that Zion already does have a before and after school program. Is that, it could be,
It's probably not big enough to unless they would
well,
find
right,
somewhere else
could
to
be
put it.
maybe that there
Oh,
was
you mean in
another,
the house?
yeah, but maybe they could look at something else or whatever.
Right now, we have about 110 students that are registered for our out-of-school time programs. Now granted, not, they're all at the same time, some come on 5 days a week, some a couple days a week.
Mhm.
So we, offer the program for preschool age all the way through, I believe, up to 5th grade is our oldest students. So, I don't know the percentage of Mayor students versus Watertown students and how many, but I know that we definitely have a use from both, communities. So, and we're always looking for opportunities to partner with, the other schools. On a separate note, as you brought up, you know, bringing our out-of-school time programs here, that I'm gonna have 2 questions, and I know that we're probably getting short on time here, but, one on the youth side is what would you like to see brought here? And what opportunities for students that, for out-of-school time classes that you would like to see that is offered in the community that we haven't brought over yet?
How can the city, our Park and Rec program, partner with you with the softball fields, the baseball fields, the soccer fields with, I know, I had a neighbor in my resident that was a soccer coach, and we did talk a little bit about the soccer field here.
We'd be, open to opportunities where we could, if, sometimes it's because, so, I need to be an instructor, so if we know that there's someone who's out there who still like meet that need, we'd be more than happy to offer. I know we did have younger youth doctors here a few different times, kind of built up as clinics or kind of like a 4-week program where, and we'd be interested in bringing that back if we had a coach who would do that. We currently, have in the summertime, I believe 6 weeks starting in June, on like a Sunday night, very, kind of a skills T-ball where it's open to, younger girls and boys where they don't play, they play scrimmages against each other, but it's not set up as a league at this point. So if there's other opportunities that we could look at helping support mayor and helping manage programs and offering advertising it, that, we definitely would be interested in that opportunity. I know that we, have taken over kind of the management role of the Mayor Moxie program, and I think it has served, the city and community as well, that membership in that didn't drop off going from nurturing from one side to the other. So, no, we definitely would be open to those opportunities. That was the other part I was gonna say. If you know of anyone who would like to teach, you don't have to have a teaching license or anything, that's an interest in our program, that we definitely would work with them on developing a class and offering it, out to individuals.
So before your time though, we did the soccer program, the city did a soccer program. We also we did a summer program where we had, Nancy Schwanke come and do this for a month program. Well, then the community had took that over and took the soccer program over for the city too. And then that 4-week program, remember when we had her here doing different things for a month? And I think the Watertown Mayor community had also took that program over for a while, but must be the interest has dropped off.
That's tough, that some of the classes that we do offer here, that if we can't get the sign-up, then I cancel, that when we get a couple individuals or, 5 to sign up for, I think that's our soccer clinic. Well, it's hard to offer a clinic for 5 kids in regards to, a class, but you never know. Sometimes it goes like gangbusters one brochure, and then you have to cancel the next. I know a couple of you guys experienced that with our Safe Kids class, that we had to cancel it in one book, but we had 12 kids can sign up for the next go round, so, when Ron brought up the strategic plan and we talked about learners of all ages, I just wanna ask a quick question in regards to our adult learners, that as we see our demographics are pushing to the baby boomer age, across all. So I'm looking at what are the opportunities where we can reach our adult learners, adults of any ages, that we're interested in offering, those opportunities also. Is there classes that you think that would be of interest?
Maybe the senior commission can weigh in on that.
I'd be more than happy to come to a senior commission meeting.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
Let me know.
Have you ever asked any of the current instructors if they would ever do what they wanna do in Mayor too? I mean, I know that it's a commute or whatever for different people, but.
So far, the ones that I've been able to bring over have said yes to Watertown Mayor, and I plan on seeing which classes have gone, like and I will, the ones that have been popular now, I think I will try again to see, hey, do you mind offering it over on this side? Also, so, I know our fitness classes usually go really well here. Our 4-hour defensive driving classes always go. That's why I was interested to see if there's other types of adult learner type classes that you think would be in the community of anything from the arts side, that I had now as an instructor where we, a painting class, and I know that it went well, and, when we offered it, and she's a first-time instructor's husband, she said, look, if you'd be interested in, offering classes here, because, gives me table and space, and.
With that, the the adult education type thing, I think there's another place to collaborate with Littleton High as far as space and using classroom space up there. I know Joel has talked about it in the past too, that, you know, they'd be willing to work with community ed class to get people in the building. So, you know, it's another, cause right here it's limited space, obviously we don't have a whole lot of classroom space right here too. But it might be something to, contact LHS about.
And with the, one of the things I had mentioned to me is to do the basketball, they have like a men's dad's basketball league or whatever. I wonder if Lieutenant High wouldn't wanna open that up to the residents of Manure. Cause you know, he doesn't wanna sometimes drive there on a Sunday night, drive to Watertown, and I wonder if there'd be
I
other.
think there is a league that does something on Sunday nights as it is, isn't there?
My sons play at 8 o'clock or 8:30
Yeah, I think there is.
someplace. I think it's at Lieutenant High,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's a kind of a men's league, or,
That's a yes or no. Kinda.
not for me, but.
They're old.
He wants to be a part of that, but he's like, he was at basketball practice, he's like, I know these dads play basketball, I wanna
Yeah.
figure out where they're, you know, he wants to be in the 4-year-old men's league. He doesn't wanna be playing with a bunch of 19-year-olds.
Oh, and then we'll
Okay.
connect them.
Okay.
Opportunity maybe to put the business together and.
Yep, and
Okay.
my experience over the course of this year so far, when we talk about the connections and opportunities and that core competency, I've seen tremendous examples of it with the entire school district, I include Manor in that as well. And we have a lot to be proud of, and we just wanna grow that and build those partnerships to benefit all. So, I'll follow up with you, Luann, about getting that, whatever format we think will work best to come together, like you were talking about, Jerry, I think that would.
Coffee and donuts always works good.
All right, Luann's gonna buy.
Yeah. I don't know, the planning commission looked at it the last meeting, so I'm not sure when John was
I
planning
think
on
they were
putting it out.
talking soon.
Cause we're gonna put it out on Survey Monkey, so I can contact him tomorrow and let you know.
Building, are you working with somebody?
We are, Municipal Development Group is doing our comprehensive plan for us, so they're building it onto Survey Monkey for us. I'll send you what I have so far, and then I'll contact John and find out what the date is that they're planning on
Okay,
rolling
great,
that out.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you.
Okay, moving on, where am I here? Back up. No, I lost it entirely.
You're right there, yep.
There I am.
Mr. Mayor, council members, if you're, I don't know if you've been watching the legislation or some of the federal legislation that's also been out there about, some of the actions that are taking place around, registered sex offenders within the state hospital system or the state system. And there has been some discussion on the league website also about it, about ordinances that regulate. I don't know if it's an ordinance, if it's something that you wanted to address, if you want an ordinance within the community, because what's happening is some of the cities are passing ordinances that are eliminating almost the whole city. And they're gonna end up moving someplace where there isn't an ordinance, would be my fear. So, with that
So
said,
we should have an ordinance in place, as you say.
well, we've gotta wait till the legislature gets done meeting, because they are putting some rules together for that also. But I didn't wanna have Dave Hubert start working on this if it wasn't something that you so I just need to know if you wanna continue to move forward with that, or what you wanna do, and I can do that.
Probably
I think
prudent
it's
just to
worth
kinda
it.
see what happens.
Yeah.
I think it'd be
Go
wise
from
to
there.
Okay.
look into it, yes, I
And the
definitely do.
sooner the better, before too much legislature gets involved.
Well, the legislature is the one that's setting some of the parameters for the local units of government, so then we'd have to change our ordinance anyway, according to state statute,
Oh,
because
you
we're a
wouldn't be
statutory
grandfathered
city.
in?
We wouldn't be grandfathered in, we're a statutory city, so we have to follow whatever the statutes are, and then our ordinance have to be changed to match the statute,
As will
so.
all the rest of the cities that now have
True.
a blanket kind of an ordinance.
If they yeah, right, but the point is then we've gotta have Dave
Yeah.
redo it again, so I was just gonna wait until
Sure.
we could have it right the first time. Okay,
Yeah, I think I'd move forward with
Yeah, I think we will.
okay. And I think
Time
they're done in
permits.
May anyway, aren't they? Sometime in May?
The legislature,
Mhm.
supposed to be.
We're not far from there, so.
I'm curious to know what happens with offenders that are already living in a community before you put, ordinances in place.
Well, this is only level 3 that you have, and I think 1s and 2s you don't, because
I understand that.
3s, you have to have notification on, and level 1 and level 2 you don't.
Sure.
But, like Brooklyn Center or Brooklyn Park, I happened to read what they did is they limited it, they can't, they don't even have, the whole city is eliminated,
Mhm.
because they put so many feet around all the parks, the schools, the churches, all the places kids could be, and they left no place in the city.
Oh, we just put a 2-mile radius around any school, and we gotta take care of it.
Yeah, there you go. And so that's why I think the legislature's probably getting involved too.
Sure. No place to go.
So, okay, I'll move forward on that.
Legislature could house them in the legislator. Enough there, okay. Discussion of support for Waconia Senior Center. You wanna
You wanna
discuss?
address that, or do you want me to?
I can, okay. Luann and I went was it last week or week before? Week before to Waconia, they had this meeting about this, their thoughts on putting together a senior center, and, it was a good discussion. Interestingly, the demographics and, school board people here too, or Watertown school people here, Watertown Mayor school people. The demographics are very interesting, I'm one of those. Currently, Carver County has about, 5,600 people in the baby boomer age, and by 2030, they expect that to quadruple to 25,000.
24,490.
Yeah, so,
This should be in there.
so that's where your adult education type things are coming in, will come in handy. But at least they were looking for some input on getting a senior center, and while they're looking at, obviously, in Waconia, and they had no real concrete plans as far as whether they would propose adding something onto Safari Island, using some of the rooms at the ice arena, using some rooms elsewhere in the city that are maybe available. They're just looking at, I think, at interest and finding out if is this something that there's a need for. And there was an overwhelming response that there's a definite need for it, that there will be a definite need for it. And I think our discussion here is, what Luann and I have talked about is, do we as a council want to, if at the very least, just send a letter of support to this Waconia Senior Commission, that we are in support of that. We'll let CM proceed with their looking into it, and kind of keep us in the loop with communication as far as what's going on. The other option is we could pass a formal resolution. That, I'm not sure that puts us on hook for any kind of financial thing, but or just a simple letter would be helpful too, I think, for that committee. And they're meeting on the 25th of this month, right?
Correct.
Meeting with city council.
Yep.
So I guess my thought is a letter of support, and Luann could draft something then, and get that to them, that we would certainly support their efforts and like to see something go forward with that.
I think it's a good idea.
Any other comments, questions about that? Okay, then I think, if nothing else, Luann, we'll put something together and get that sent off to them then. Okay, anything else that, needs to be discussed?
Did you guys talk about this is something I couldn't just see offline, the active shooter stuff at all? Have we?
I let them know a little bit about it. I've just wrote myself a note, because I talked to Paul Cheetah about coming here and talking to us about it, and he hasn't gotten back to me, so I just kind of gonna remind myself to call him tomorrow and see where he's at with that.
I'd like to just have conversations and talk about some learnings that we had. And I know the fire department's going through active shooter right now. It's mandatory for all of them. It's like an all-day training, so it might not be a bad idea to take some of that knowledge that the firemen are learning. I know Boulder
It's
probably
more of
has
a-
some.
It's more of a response than a prevention.
Right, but I would like to just talk about, the guy just said you should have a plan. So
Yeah.
what if somebody came in that door? What would you do? You should just have a plan, and I think
What
that's,
I'd do.
I'd be on Eric.
you know.
Behind you, what are you talking about?
No, but I just think it's
We'll be
important.
fighting
It is,
I think it's
absolutely.
very important and, you know, do we have a plan? Is this room set up ideally for that
No.
situation? No.
No.
So, do we talk about that? Because just because we're a small community doesn't mean it can't happen. So,
I will see if I can get him to come. He was gonna come and do some kind of that training, so,
It's numbers there, with the
with it.
Tri-City shop.
okay,
I'll be there for a couple of them.
that was my only thing.
Okay, anything else? If not, do we need a motion to adjourn? No. Just adjourn. We are adjourned.